All right, welcome everybody to the Technology Source Virtual Roundtable. Today's subject is borderless mobility. I'm Rob Olson, Chief Revenue Officer of Technology Source. I'll be your host today. Each month, as you know, we join our friends at our different providers to bring to you unique services that you probably haven't heard of before. And that's really where our technology advisors assist our clients, is identifying solutions that help. And many times there are things that our clients don't know about that we bring to the forefront that really helps and wows them by the fact that they're so creative and unique. Our mission as a solution partner is to work alongside our trusted advisors. We have about 750 of those nationally to create best-in-breed solutions. Technology Source represents over 500 service providers in managed IT, cybersecurity, AI, customer analytics, telecom, and mobility. Technology Source works closely with our team of trusted advisors to reduce operational expenses and improve efficiencies while helping to deliver an outstanding experience for their customers, which is what everybody's looking for now. How do we make the experience better? How do we make it less friction? About Advantix. Advantix is our product provider today. Advantix is a first of its kind managed connectivity experience provider specializing in wireless enablement and technology expense management. Their solutions are supported by software as a service tools that make it easy to manage carriers and plans, visualize and control usage, locate SIM-enabled devices, and get real-time network performance analysis. That's a lot. We've got a great group here of experts joining us from Advantix to talk about mobile device management. We got Jamie Grand, channel manager over at Advantix. We got Christine Collins, the vice president of Advantix. And last but not least, Marco Andujar, strategic manager and sales engineer. Is that correct, Marco?
Director of engineering, actually. But yes, thank you.
Gotcha, yes. Gotcha. The smart guy, right?
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead. I want to have Advantix kind of explain a little bit about their product and how it works and what's included, and then we'll ask them some questions to try to determine, what are the benefits, what's different, how does this help our clients? And we'll get to that expert roundtable here in just a minute. So I'll let you go ahead and take over the wheel here.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rob. All right. Do you want to go ahead and switch to the next slide? Fantastic. So just a really quick snapshot of Advantix. We were founded back in 2001, so going on 25 years. We're headquartered in South Carolina. When Advantix was established, we created our business based on telecom expense management. So what we were doing is working with enterprise customers such as yourself, managing their mobility program, as well as doing the mobility optimization, as well as the fixed HEM side of the house, which really just means the wireline management as well as wireline audits. About 6 years ago, we introduced our connectivity division, where we offer single carrier SIMs as well as our smart SIM, which is a multi-carrier solution. And that's going to be really highlighted today through this webinar. We support end customers such as yourself, mid-market to enterprise. We have a multinational footprint. And then we have a customizable portal, which is definitely a differentiator from our competitors as well. We created our Groove platform from the ground up, and then we marry that with our team of telecom experts.
Great. So thanks, Jamie. And just to talk about Advantix as an MCX provider. So Rob mentioned this when he did our introduction, and Advantix is the first of its kind to be a fully managed connectivity experience provider. What that really means is we take our TEM history and roots that Jamie talked about. We integrate that with our core platform, that software as a service. And then we have that, what we call Blitz. It's middleware. So it allows us to have APIs with carriers and customers and technology providers. We blend all of that together, providing a full connected, managed experience for our customers and for our partners.
The entire service stack, yes.
Yes.
All right, multi-carrier smart SIM solution. So what this solution entails is one SIM card. So just like if you have a Verizon SIM or an AT&T SIM, it's one SIM, but the big difference, it has support of multiple carriers. So it's built-in redundancy, and it supports AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, US Cellular, Cellular One, and Union within the United States. We have the 3 major carriers in Canada. So you have Rogers, Telus, and Bell, as well as 3 carriers in Mexico. But it ultimately, this SIM covers 600 carriers globally across roughly 170 or so countries. So I mentioned that built-in redundancy. What that means is if you have that SIM card connected to, let's say, AT&T, and that connection or session is lost completely, it's going to automatically fail over to the next available carrier, such as a T-Mobile or Verizon. So there's no human intervention. When that carrier switch occurs, we're talking milliseconds. So you, as the end customer, it's very unnoticeable. We also provide real-time business intelligence. So what that means is that we provide visibility into the actual network itself, which is a huge differentiator from our competitors as well. You know, your native carriers, they will never provide visibility. You have an issue, you file a trouble ticket, and then you wait for that resolution. There's very minimal communication. Well, with our Smart SIM solution, you're going to actually get visibility into carrier switching. You'll have visibility into uptime as well as off time and average carrier switch time, which is huge. Our tools provide the capability of proactive management as well. So if you see a SIM that's switching on average way more than your other SIMs, clearly that could be an issue, whether it's a hardware issue, a SIM issue, but it provides that proactive visibility to go and identify that SIM and try to uncover what that issue is, right? Before it becomes a real live issue and creating productivity interruption. We provide whitelisting, blacklisting. So truly what that means is, you know, a lot of organizations such as yourself may have a mobile device manager in place that really locks that SIM card down. So you don't have your end users on YouTube or Spotify. But ultimately, if you don't have that solution in place, we do have the capability of locking those SIMs down, right? So you can actually just whitelist specific URLs or applications that you want your end users to be utilizing. Cybersecurity, and we'll talk about this a little bit more during the presentation, but ultimately it's truly on par with the native carriers. So as far as the hassles, right, it really eliminates the need to have multiple carriers and identifying if you have locations all across the United States or maybe even in Canada, you don't know off the top of your head, right, what best carrier is in that location. That Smart SIM eliminates the need to investigate that. So ultimately, the hardware that's being utilized with the Smart SIM is truly the intelligence, right? It has the actual firmware and bands that allow that device to search out the various networks, right? With that built-in redundancy that I talked about previously. We have the ability to support physical SIM as well as eSIM capable devices. One of our other differentiators from our competitors as well is really the what we do is we have a certification process in place. So we certify all hardware that's being utilized with our Smart SIM to ensure seamless connectivity. And then it reduces the cost. We do have pool plans available, but we're definitely flexible when it comes to price structures. We support 4G and 5G as long as the device is 5G compatible and you're in a 5G area. We can set what we call preferred carrier. So if you know, right, or have a need to set devices to prefer, let's say, AT&T, you certainly have that capability, but it's still going to automatically fail over if that session is lost, right? That hardware will try to make it back to AT&T essentially because of that preferred carrier setting, but ultimately it still has the ability to do the carrier switching. We can fine-tune carriers based on your requirements. And then, of course, I talked about that carrier switching. It's really a knock-like visibility into the network. Next slide, Rob. So Smart SIM beats another outage. I'm sure some of you were impacted not only by the AT&T outage, but we also had the Verizon outage. This truly depicts how the Smart SIM works. Ultimately, this is a real live customer. So back in February of last year, when that outage occurred, they had 94% of their devices set to prefer AT&T. When that outage occurred, ultimately what happened is the devices that were affected switched to the next available carrier. So it decreased from 94 connected to AT&T to 81% connection. But this customer was still operationally productive, right? They did not lose service. But some organizations, like I mentioned, right? I'm sure some of you were impacted. That's a huge productivity loss. And with productivity loss comes revenue loss. So having a Smart SIM, it's really an insurance plan, right? To ensure that you have that pervasive coverage that's needed for a production, for productivity, excuse me.
All right, I got a few questions. This is it's great. I mean, I love the product and the differentiators and what makes you unique, and just the fact that you don't have to manage 9 portals in the IT department to run a mobility service for your team is a big, huge thing for most of our customers. But let's talk a little bit about multi-carrier SIMs. Are there different types of multi-carrier SIM solutions?
Yeah, that's
Yes. Go
okay.
ahead.
That's
Go
a great
ahead, Mark.
question, Rob.
Read arm
Yeah,
wrestle.
great question. Yes, there are different types of multi-carrier SIMs and solutions out there. Ours is different because we use what's called the multi-IMSI IMSI path, right? Other SIMs, they might use roaming, from a multi-carrier perspective, or some other pattern or way to download the profiles, things like that. With the Smart SIM from Advantix, it's automatic. There is no loading of a profile. We do not worry about roaming, in the same traditional sense. Yes, we do require the devices to have roaming turned on, but that is only to set up the sessions to the local tower. That is it. It is not used in the same traditional sense. So there are a variety of different multi-carrier platforms and solutions that are out there. Yes.
Great. Christine, Jamie, you want to add to that?
I am good. I'm actually, oh, you beat me to it, Jamie. I was responding to the chat over there. So no, I nothing more to add to that.
Great. So how does it work? Do customers have to pay for each carrier? I think that's the biggest concern. You hear 600 providers. I don't want to buy 15 SIMs.
Yeah. I think that's a huge misperception, right, of the Smart SIM solution and the multi-carrier solutions. Ultimately, it is one SIM, but with that built-in redundancy, it gives you the ability to search out those various networks. And ultimately, it is one price point. The price does not differ whether you're in Canada or you're in the US or even Mexico, right? It's one price plan across, like I said, the data pools too, right? So you'll have just very similar to how the native carriers work. You have your data pool allowance, and then ultimately the usage is pulled from that overarching allowance.
So just to add to that, the way I would look at it is Advantix is your carrier. Although you have 6 carriers in the US, 3 in Canada, 3 in Mexico, or even say you're in Europe, you have someone that has some locations in Europe and they're using the device over there or traveling over there. Again, it's a single price, single invoice. Advantix is the carrier, so you will not receive different prices based on other carrier, based on whichever carrier the SIM is on, and you will not receive another invoice.
Yeah, I started my career in Motorola back in the day, and you were stuck on whatever provider you bought your phone with.
Right.
And there's no coverage. You don't have coverage. And what's so great about Advantix is there really aren't any holes. And I saw some statistics recently that said that with the use of a multi-carrier SIM, coverage is around 99%. And internationally, I see numbers as high as 99.99%, assuming there's coverage there, right? I mean, you can't be in the middle of the Sahara Desert and expect to get coverage, but where there is coverage, you're going to get them there.
That's a great point, Rob. And one thing that we recommend when we're working with customers out there, and say a customer wants to do a trial for a week or two, what we recommend is put our SIM in that device that is having the largest connectivity issues, so we can test our SIM in that area and show you how our multi-carrier SIM will perform in that environment. And then we actually show that carrier switching and the uptime to give you real-time visibility.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
Amazing product. Is all hardware compatible? You mentioned the certification process.
Yes.
With
Yeah.
a multi-carrier solution, can I use my existing carrier hardware? So do I have to buy new stuff, or can I use what I'm using today?
That's a great question. So I know I touched on certification. Not all hardware is going to be compatible with the solution, right? There are instances where we are unable to certify hardware, but for the most part, we have over 200 devices that are certified today. Apple devices, we have what we call a blanket certification, right? So ultimately, our access point names are built in from a carrier bundle perspective. So it's really like a plug and play scenario. As far as the existing carrier hardware, if you are getting subsidized hardware through the carriers, you typically are going to have either, like a 24-month commitment in place, or maybe you're on device payment plans, right? Once your contract is, expires, or you're paid that device off completely, at that point, you can request your carrier to what's called unlocking a device, because typically what happens, that carrier locks the hardware down, so it can only be used with their SIM cards. But ultimately, once you are out of contract, you do have the capability of unlocking that device and utilizing the smart SIM if you choose, or any other carrier for that matter, with that hardware. And I do want to also make a point that our smart SIM solution is great for data only use cases. We do have voice as an option, but it's very use case specific. So this solution would not be ideal for like the executives out there. But if you have anybody out in the field, like healthcare workers, or you have, like energy company where they have field workers out there, that would be a great use case, right? If they're really struggling with not only data connection, but even with voice connection. Christine, is there anything more you wanted to add to that?
So just to add to our voice offering, it is a true multi-carrier voice. So the voice offering works on AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So it is a multi-carrier voice solution, and we are the first in the industry in the US to launch this. So pretty exciting. So think of it, as Jamie said, even delivery drivers, construction sites, things of that nature. Great use cases for it.
Yeah. And Marco, is there anything more that you wanted to add just from an engineer perspective?
Yeah, so on the hardware side, we literally will test every single device that touches our network. That's important. It helps give us insights into the hardware. It reassures you as a customer that everything is going to work fine. We know what to expect. We can help you with the configuration parameters. We want to make sure that your experience is going to be exactly as you want it and exactly as you would expect it to be. So yes, the hardware is a critical piece to this, because that is a lot of where the logic really takes place from the hardware.
Great. Support. Oh, this is the pain industry, is it not? I mean, difficult to get a hold of anybody now on the phone or even through chat. So how is your support model different from the native carriers, the guys we see on TV?
Yeah, Marco, I would love for you to take this, because I know as an engineer and you've worked some, critical P1 issues, right, that we certainly jump on. And I think it's just important that the customers understand our support model, because it is a lot different than the native carriers. A lot of times it's hard to even get in touch with somebody, to Rob's point, right? Not everybody has
Exactly.
like a dedicated rep that they can just go to. So what's your take on our support model?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Having been with a carrier for 15 years, I totally get what the support model requires and what it's like. With Advantix, our Smart SIM support team literally is called Smart SIM Support Team. They are experienced with the multi-carrier platform. They understand the technology. They understand how to communicate directly with our NOC. But the beauty of it is they also have direct access to the core backbone, which you're really not going to get at one of the traditional carriers because there is a process that you have to go through, right? So bottom line is we have 24/7 support. Our NOC is 24/7. Our teams are highly experienced in this space. They know what to look for. They know what to do. They know all the troubleshooting protocols, and it makes the experience for the customer so much easier and so much more seamless. Furthermore, you do not have to wait days or hours, to get an escalation to leadership or anything like that. If I need an escalation done, it's literally a text message away to leadership. I can say, hey, we're having a struggle here. We need help, whatever the case might be. Those resources are available to us all of the time. So yeah, there's a huge difference, and we pride ourselves on the support aspect quite a bit. Great question.
Yep, and the one thing that I will add is, this is what one of the things that differentiates Advantix from all of the other multi-SIM carriers, how we come in and manage our network. So the layer that we come in and we can manage the network makes a difference in how we support our customers.
That's huge.
Yeah, and we have our national trusted advisors are another layer as well. So in the event, for some reason, somebody couldn't reach you or the hold times are longer than expected, they can always reach us. And then we've got direct lines into all of you. So no, it's a great model. And I'll be honest, I mean, we've got about 550 providers. I've never had a customer escalate or need help with service from Advantix, which can't really say too often in the technology space. You've never had this or you always have that, right? And in this case, we've never ever had an escalation. So that's a great point to share with people because it is very difficult. In fact, if you try to find a number to call into a provider nowadays or into a company nowadays, they don't even publish it anymore. So it's
Yeah.
great to have an organization like Advantix on your team. Can you explain how your multi-carrier SIM solution ensures global connectivity and what the specific coverage percentage is? I think I saw this number. It's crazy.
Yeah, Marco, you want to take that one first?
Yeah, so we have multiple data centers for, basically multiple layers of redundancy and failover that's built into the smart SIM, into the core network infrastructure. So let's take the AT&T outage example that was spoken about a little bit earlier. So let's say there's another outage with a major carrier, right? And that carrier is taking one specific network path. Well, that's okay. That path goes down. Well, guess what? We can fail over between our data centers and automatically switch over or even manually switch over to a different network path using that same carrier. So bottom line is there's multiple layers of redundancy that's built into the platform, built into the smart SIM, so it will transition automatically. So Christine, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Great. So that's how you see we can ensure our global connectivity. And you can see all of the countries and carriers that we support on our website as well. And that's at advantixsolutions.com under the Smart SIM category.
And the connectivity coverage, what is the percentage? What type of coverage do you get? I seen somewhere, I think I saw a number of over 99%. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 99%. So like, as I mentioned, right, we cover 600 carriers globally, and it's not the traditional roaming. And actually, Marco will cover this here soon. I know we have a question about that as well. But yes, Rob, about 99% coverage.
Obviously, there has to be coverage available for that to make sense, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
If you're in the middle of the desert, the ocean, you're probably not going to have coverage.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
There, Advantix can take care of you, which is great. Anything else anyone wants to add before we move on? Great. What strategies are implemented to maximize the uptime of mobile devices for businesses, especially in remote or high demand environments?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Marco touched on this right in the last question, but that built-in redundancy is key with our various data centers. I mean, ultimately, if you have an outage, you are completely down. There's no other path that device can take, right, with a native carrier. And ultimately, that built-in redundancy with automatic failover essentially provides that uptime. And the average uptime, when we're talking 99.9%, right? Which is ideal from a productivity perspective. And when you think about remote areas and high demand environments as an example, because for instance, let's say AT&T is the best coverage in that area, but when you have events going on, there's multiple variables that could impact connection, right? And so that built-in redundancy, it could easily automatically fail over to, let's say, a Union or a US Cellular, whether it's high demand environments or even remote environments, right? I'm sure you have gone out in remote areas and just were completely dead in the water with no connection. And ultimately, connectivity, it requires towers, right? I mean, so to your point, Rob, if you're out in the ocean, I mean, there's no towers out there, so you're not going to have that connection. But in remote areas, a lot of times you'll find those rural carriers, they will ultimately supersede the major carriers such as T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. So that's really, from our perspective, that built-in redundancy with automatic failover is key, and having those data centers. Marco, is there anything more that you wanted to add?
Yeah, Jamie, I think you said that really well. One other thing I just want to tap into is there is a big difference between coverage and throughput, right? So we can be in one of these remote areas and we can have, marginal coverage with one carrier and a little bit better coverage with the other carrier. But guess what? That slightly lesser coverage might actually have better throughput. So what we do at Advantix is we help optimize, right? If your client is in a remote area or a high traffic area, things like that, we'll help find, which is going to be the carrier that's going to offer the best throughput, and also based on the device, right? Not all devices are the same. Some antennas and some devices are going to be more powerful than others and pick up signal better and process faster, things like that. So we're experiencing those in those spaces, and we want to help customers make sure that they have the best experience that they possibly can. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example of a high demand environment would be here in Scottsdale, where we have the Phoenix Open and then the
Yes.
Super Bowl, sometimes in the same week. And there's 500,000 people here
Yes.
trying to make a phone call.
Exactly.
So that'd be a nice time to have Advantix if you're a business owner and you're traveling and you're trying to use your phone and you're trying to manage your fleet. Advantix is definitely the solution. Can you
Exactly.
share how your solution helps businesses reduce roaming costs, and what percentage of savings can typically be expected as a result of that?
I want you to take the first part of this question because I know it's not traditional roaming.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are no roaming charges with us, right? When I talked about roaming earlier, we literally only use roaming or require it to be turned on every single device, only to be able to set up the session to the local cell tower. That is it. So you could be in New York, you can be in wherever, you can be in Europe, wherever. There's not going to be any additional roaming charges. We don't even enter into that space.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately, as far as like the percentage of savings, it's definitely going to vary, right, Rob? Because it depends on the client environment ultimately and how much international travel that they're doing, right? And how much they're ultimately accumulating in roaming charges. I mean, that would be essentially eliminated by utilizing our Smart SIM solution.
I did some research on this, and the number I found was 80%. 80% savings with versus traditional roaming using an Advantix type solution. So that's a huge number.
It
So
is a huge number.
And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it could relate probably to a lot of these questions that are out there, is the switch time between carriers.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to talk about that as well. So if you look at that redundancy, so what's critical is that switch time. How quickly are you going to switch over between carriers? And it's truly milliseconds. And we have customers that test our smart SIM and they're on another multi-carrier SIM. We have a trial that's going on right now, and the other multi-carrier SIM that they're utilizing takes about a minute to do that carrier switching, and with us, it's milliseconds. And they say, you know, we didn't realize how slow the other multi-SIM carrier is compared to Advantix and what we could be getting. And this customer is global. They're in the aviation world. So just really important to take into consideration when you're looking at multi-carrier SIMs.
Yeah, we've seen it take as long as 10 minutes to change carriers. So having it be instantaneous is a crazy differentiator that really helps Advantix stand out. All right, Marco, this is yours. How do you integrate network security measures like whitelisting, blacklisting, DPI, malware, and virus detection, and content filtering to create a comprehensive defense strategy for an enterprise network? Can you explain how each of these elements plays a role and how they work together to prevent potential threats?
Yeah, critical and important questions. So all of these things that you mentioned are integrated into the core backbone infrastructure. So our core backbone infrastructure is carrier grade. Think about it. It ties into all of the major carriers, right? So we have to meet those security standards. In addition to that, we are adding deep packet inspection, blacklisting, whitelisting, malware, antivirus detection, everything that you can imagine that is associated from a security standpoint and perspective. On top of that, customer has the ability to set specific whitelist, blacklist, you know, from within their portal, or they can contact us and say, hey, we have, 100, URLs that we want to blacklist or whitelist, anything like that. We can create a profile for those SIMs, for those regions, however they want to do it. It's super flexible. So they have a lot of autonomy to manage and to do whatever is going to, work for their organization. Security is of the utmost concern and should be for every organization. It's not a matter of, if you're going to be penetrated or hacked or have some kind of issue. It's a matter of when and what's being done to mitigate that. So for us, we take that as a super top priority. It's obviously very important, and we want to make sure that customers remain safe. So yes, when I'm going to talk a little bit about the deep packet inspection, which is let's look at that kind of as an element within the core infrastructure, where it's also going to handle and manage, the malware, the virus detection, and the content filtering. We'll say we can set that aside because that's kind of a different way of handling things. But deep packet inspection, obviously, we have multiple layers of security built in for authentication, encryption, firewalls, all of that, highly secure data centers. All the things that you would find in any traditional carrier is going to reside within our infrastructure as well. When I see the content filtering, yes, we have some content filtering that can be done. However, we always encourage customers, make sure you have your own security policies in place. That's absolutely critical. Do not rely on any carrier's infrastructure to do 100% of your security. It's not a good best practice. And, we're not ever going to say, to any customer that, hey, this is the best way to go, unless you're looking at a network-based firewall. That's a different conversation for a different time, right? But we do encourage customers to follow best practices, do what's right for your organization, make sure that you have good security policies in place, make sure those policies are vetted and tested, make sure that you get penetration testing. Even if you connect to Smart SIM, right? Please, we welcome, make sure that your security parameters are matching with what you would expect from the Smart SIM. Go ahead, run those penetration tests, make sure that everything aligns as you would need it to and expect it to. So I'm going to pause there and ask if anybody else wants to chime in or if there's any additional questions relating to this important topic.
I can tell you that this is one of the biggest concerns about bring your own device, right? Is the protection against cybersecurity in your network and being able to log in securely and safely without having to worry about an attack. So this is great to hear what you've put together on the cybersecurity side for mobility, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christine, Jamie, anything you want to add?
No, I think Marco covered it. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marco.
Great job there.
Yes, a lot
Absolutely.
to
And
unpack. Thank you, sir.
Rob, you said something I want to tap into real quick, if it's okay. So you mentioned devices, right? That's critical. And that's another reason why we certify,
Mhm.
literally or let me backtrack. I'll say onboard/certify each device that touches our network. If there's a device that does get onto the network, because anybody can take a smart SIM and put it on a rogue device, right? Those will get flagged, right? Because those devices, if they're not properly onboarded, my NOC team is going to reach out and say, hey, Marco and team, we see this device, it's doing X, Y, and Z. Did you allow it? Are you testing what's going on? And we have in the past shut devices down because a customer has said, hey, we're using XYZ device. Here's the make, here's the model. We see it on the network, and guess what? What they stated to us doesn't match. So we will give them a fair warning, but if that device has any potential for risk, it gets shut down immediately. There's no questions asked. So yes, the device is absolutely critical to the security, parameters and the overall network platform. So that's another reason why we take the certification process very seriously. But great observation.
Now, I think cybersecurity is of utmost importance to our clients
Yeah.
and their engineers and making sure that they protect their network. I mean, anyone who's read the story of Target knows the importance of security on your mobile devices.
Absolutely.
Delivering with the things you're bringing to the table with your DPI and malware and virus detection, content filtering. It truly is comprehensive, and I think that's critical to our clients.
Agreed.
How do you optimize monthly plans for businesses, and what kind of cost savings can companies expect from doing that?
Yeah, great
Talked
question.
about before, where everybody goes out and buys the unlimited plan for all their employees, and they're $100.
Mhm.
And let's talk about that and how you optimize those.
Yeah, great question, Rob. I mean, as I mentioned previously, Advantix was established based on our telecom expense management roots, right? So we have a lot of background with mobility optimization. And you hit a key point. So many organizations out there just, let's set everybody up on the Business Unlimited, set it and leave it, right? But the reality is a lot of users, they're not even coming close to using 2 gigs of data a month, right? It's a subset of users that may need the Business Unlimited plan, right? But through our mobility optimization, it's a risk-free solution that we offer. So meaning there's no contract up front. As long as we get visibility into the latest 3 months of data, right, through your PDF invoices and raw data files, our analysts can come in and optimize the program based on the plans and features that are in place, as well as looking into zero use, right? And what we come to find out is that we're coming in with 25-35% savings opportunities because we're optimizing based on the average data consumption across the environment. And circling back to the unlimited, not all users are going to need the unlimited plan. So that right there is easy savings, right? By analyzing and making those changes, but then zero use too. I mean, ultimately, and I'll talk more in the next slide as well, but that's truly how we come in and optimize, and it gives us visibility to identify some smart SIM opportunity in there based on the devices that are being used and ultimately the use case across some of those devices.
And the savings that you can expect as a company using Advantix by optimizing your packages, where do you see that falling?
That's an average 25-35% savings.
I mean, I would think that would more than pay for your solution to begin with by having the savings and efficiency. And can you speak to either now or the next slide about these usage phones. How is that occurring? Is it people that leave the company and something gets missed? What is that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So a lot of organizations do not have an offboarding process. You might have managers that'll take the employee device and put it in a drawer, hand it off to HR. What does HR do with it? If there is no process in place, a lot of times organizations are still paying for that device. I've even ran into circumstances where the end user takes their device and just has free connectivity on the organization, right? That does happen. And so it's truly important to be able to identify those termed users, whether or not they had a company owned device, and what that process looks like when they do leave the organization. That is absolutely key.
That's great.
And just to add, on top of the mobility optimization, if a customer needs us to come in and manage their services, we are happy to come in and assist them with doing full expense management month over month.
Yeah, comparing contract to bill, making sure that that all lines up.
Yes.
Yep. And
There's a
managing
lot of
those
interesting
rate plans.
fees that the providers add on the bills, I find, all these surcharges that are not really taxes, but they're kind of positioned that way. I'm gonna imagine you find quite a bit of that. What measures do you take to help companies reduce unnecessary overpayments for mobile services? So let's talk about that. What would be an unnecessary overpayment?
Unnecessary overpayment. I mean, it could be, oh my gosh, there's multiple factors, right? But I mean, ultimately, you could have an individual that just exceeds their data allowance, right? Or blows through the data pool. And ultimately, we're coming in and identifying those anomalies for the organizations and making those adjustments, right, to ensure and help mitigate those factors going forward. It can certainly be due to roaming, right? We talked about roaming as well, international roaming. If they don't have the proper plan in place, you're easily going to see an excessive fee that just shows up. Nobody likes bill shock at the end of the day. So it's extremely important that you have somebody that is managing the program and ensuring that when travel occurs, that the proper features are in place to help mitigate those overage charges, right? But we're also looking into other solutions that we offer, such as Smart SIM. There could be a need where Smart SIM could easily come in to help reduce the mobility costs, whether it is a frequent traveler or, just use case specific, right? Where it just would make sense having data only devices with our Smart SIM, and that could essentially decrease the costs as well in their mobility spend. Christine, is there anything you want to add there as well?
You did a great job covering all of that, Jamie.
Thank you.
There was a survey done that I read for Fortune 1000 companies that said that overpayments for mobile services topped 35%. So that's a thing. It's happening out there, and not using an organization like Advantix means you're overpaying, not only on the plans and the roaming, but you might be getting billed for services that you didn't know you were getting billed for, or for devices that should no longer be on your network. So it's really advantageous to be with Advantix. That should be
So
great.
That makes a great point. I mean, ultimately, a lot of times we talked about this before, you set it and leave it. And when organizations are managing their own program internally, a lot of times it falls, maybe on IT as an example, but just think of the workload that IT has on their plate. If you don't have somebody that is proactively managing the program, it can easily get out of hand, right? And so optimization is extremely important because it really does help clean up that environment, and it presents a savings opportunity that frees up budgetary funds where you can actually put those towards strategic initiatives, right? That have potentially been put on the back burner. But being Advantix and having the mobility solutions, if you need that off your plate, we have a solution. That mobility management, we're able to come in and do that on your behalf and ensure that your environment remains clean. That is key. You have to ensure that you're proactively managing.
Yeah, if you're on this call and you have the same challenge everybody else has, right? Not enough budget, not enough people, and a big push
Exactly.
in cybersecurity as a priority, you need to be able to reallocate resources elsewhere. And Advantix will help you do that, help you unload on areas where it's less important and move those resources to strategic initiatives that are critical to your business. Don't do it yourself. Bring in an expert, let them manage it, and you can see the benefits that can occur with the result of overpayments being reduced, packages being managed, users being managed. There's so much. We don't have time to go through it all today, but well, look, it's been enjoyable to listen to the Advantix products and the solutions that you bring to the table. I want to invite everyone on this call, if you'd like to speak to one of our experts, reach out to me an email, rob.o@technologysource.com. We'll get an appointment set up. You can speak about your specific application. We'll develop a custom solution and bring in the experts to help. Don't try to do this on your own. We've got some folks here that are experts at what they do, and they're great at it. So I want to thank Marco Andahar for coming in and sharing your technical insights on the services. It's been very, very enlightening. Christine, always a pleasure to see you. And Jamie, thank you all for sharing with us all the benefits, differentiators of Advantix solutions. It's been great. If you're looking to see this, YouTube will be the place to go. It'll be posted on YouTube. Join us next month for our next virtual roundtable, where each month we bring unique solutions to help your business save money, improve operations, and optimize the customer experience. I'm Rob Olson with Technology Source. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.